God of the universe, maker of the stars, who am I that you would know my name?
And welcome to the Maiden Voyage of Life on Purpose, a multi-generational program designed for youth, young adults. And let me just give you a brief, how did this come about? Is the four of us were at Revive Conference in Franklin, Tennessee, just a few weeks ago. And it was an amazing time. We walked out of there and said, what next? And so by the time we all got back home, the birthing of this program was, you see it right here. I call it the Maiden Voyage. We're not sure yet if we're on the Titanic or for those that are old enough to watch or have watched Gilligan's Island and the 3-hour cruise.
There you go.
Because for the first time in probably about a year, my internet went totally down. Everything. The computer won't even connect with the router. The router doesn't even know its name. Guys, what's the chances we're on the right track here?
Yeah. Pretty good.
Hey, probably something. Yeah.
Good. Yeah. So,
so.
Well, for everyone, we are going to kind of cast some vision tonight. And this is a program that we want everyone listening to be involved in. You can go on and subscribe to the podcast on various places as soon as everything is out there online. Tell your friends, put it on social media. This is in your hands to make this a success. And we'll see where this thing goes. We also have an email. It is onpurpose@email.com. You can send in questions, comments, and there's going to be a segment in this program in coming weeks that we will attempt to answer your questions. So with that, I'm going to go around the screen here. And first of all, I'm going to introduce a man who makes the Energizer Bunny look like a slacker, Mr. David Covert. How are you tonight, sir? And by the way, happy birthday, old man.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Happy birthday.
Yeah,
I got you the same thing I did last year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
Last year?
Yeah, right? Yeah, you're going to get used to the little quips that Mike is legendary for. He's known for. Again, I do love to feel and get involved in energy. And again, Revive was no joke when it came to that. So I am truly honored to be a part of this panel that we have so far. And I'm looking forward to seeing what God's going to do with this. Heck yeah.
That's great. Well, next in line is, if you've ever wondered, there was 10 people that were born into the world that had no talent. One of them was me. And the reason for that is because Ryan Cribbs sucked all the talent into himself, and there wasn't enough around for any of us. So, Ryan, how are you tonight?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you, to quote Gilligan's Island, to call that back. Thank you, Skipper.
Okay.
Oh boy, blast from the class. Here we go.
Exactly. You don't look a thing like Marianne.
Oh, yeah. Thankfully. So I reckon, yeah. Well, no, I'm excited to be a part of this. This is going to be really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes and to get into some of the topics that we're going to be able to get into.
That sounds good. And last but not least is. Well, I kind of refer to him as a product of my marriage, because there's a reason that the two of us share the same last name, is because Daniel is my son, and so Daniel Clayton.
That's me. Yeah, we came out of Revive, and we were on the drive home, me and you, and we started talking. What do we do next? And this thing just kind of. It felt like it just ran. As soon as we started talking about it, it felt obvious. And so, I share the excitement of everyone else, just being able to have some kind of continuation of what was at Revive and, just this diversity we have here of, personalities that everyone will, start to see over time. And then, I'm going to give it back to you. As people might guess, I know you as Dad. Some people know you as Mike Clayton. Some people know you as Daniel's dad. So the claim to fame has switched. However I call you throughout this podcast, it's going to change a lot. It could be Dad, it could be Mike, it could be Top Dog, it could be Big Daddy. So all those are up for votes. If you have a particular one you want to hear more, then shoot that to the email as well, and we'll see.
Uh-oh. And this is the reason that I did not allow a 5-month-old child to decide what I was going to be called as far as grandpa, or some of these names that people come up with. So I ended up with Grandpa Sir, but that's just part of my personality. Let me I'm going to set this up a little bit more, and you guys can jump into it. The reason for On Purpose. Okay, we came back as, wow, what an amazing time. And I know some of our listeners are going to be, and this is going to be on YouTube also, so you can subscribe to that. I have already been corrected by the younger generation that you don't sign up for YouTube, you subscribe to. So hit the like, hit the notifications, hit all those good things. If you don't like the program, don't hit the dislike, just go away. Whatever. We'll be a little direct there. Yeah, don't tell us if you don't like it, but give us some suggestions along the way. As we were coming back from this amazing time that the four of us had at Revive with this group of young adults, and Daniel, I want you to in a moment explain your thoughts regarding this group of people. There was a move of God, and this program is going to be biblically based. So we're going to have a section regarding the scripture, and that'll be a part of our weekly thing that we do here. That's who all four of us are. Daniel and I actually stopped by. We had said, okay, let's do a podcast, and I've not done a podcast for many, many years. But let's do a podcast. And so we started talking about that. Okay, now we got to have a name. And so we stopped at Zaxby's. We got some lunch. I'm getting back in the car in my FJ. And I said, and all of a sudden it was like, that's it. For many years, I wanted to do something that is multi-generational, that is not, the young people go this way, the old people go that way, and you split up everybody because that doesn't make sense to me. And so I put my drink in the center console of the FJ. Daniel was getting in, and I said, "We're going to make this multi-generational on purpose," and that's where the name came from. And it was Life on Purpose. So, guys, give me, this thing of why is it that we have, any two of you could put your ages together and not come up with mine, which is really terrible. But what are you looking for as far as the interaction here? I guess maybe the easiest way to describe it is our interaction as we've all worked together through the years. How has that enriched our lives of not putting these walls up between ages?
Yeah. I think that, I guess I'll go first since I went first the other time. I think that we definitely want to, it seemed like the first time we did, which was like a few years ago, it seemed like we were really kind of joining forces. It just worked. Everything just kind of just molded, shaped, and everyone would talk about their testimony, and they're all different, which is even better, that they're all different, they're not the same, and that we can all kind of come together and see common things within those where we saw how God moved in each one of those. So that's what we're looking for, is a connection with you, the viewer, on, especially if you're maybe even alone, you have no one else to talk to about these things, or the topics that quite honestly maybe are taboo, or topics that are difficult. We're hoping that we can get to a more focus on how God can really intervene in your life and really be transformed by it, and give you some encouragement along the way, because honestly, this world is full of discouragement and disappointment, really. Yeah. So I think that's where I'm hoping the most to come from this podcast.
Absolutely. I will kind of echo Dave's sentiment there. Really using what we've learned from the Torah and from Scripture and from the experiences that the Father has put us through, to live that life on purpose and apply those messages into our everyday to solve some of those issues that those in our generation are facing, really. Absolutely. And I mean, as we worked together, through the music and through the worship, and then Mike, your message and so forth, and seeing the impact that it's been making on those groups of youth that we've gone to. I mean, I said to a young man not long ago, I said, I wish I could like shrink you down and like put you in a little container and then like carry you with us on some of these trips so you could like see what happens, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in a way, that's what this is. So that's one reason I'm excited to be a part of it, is because we get to hopefully share a little bit of that with the listener. And hopefully it enriches their life as well.
Great.
Yeah, same page for me. And one thing that is interesting as I kind of move into this is dad/top dog. We've been kind of laying a bit of a groundwork for this in our own lives. As we have done Life Assembly. As you've been doing the teaching and I've been leading worship there. We've been kind of cultivating this for a little over a year now. And so when it came time to talk about doing something this multi-generational, with us two and with Dave and Ryan, as we had worked together the previous year and other times, it just felt so natural. And one thing that I am even more interested to see is, as I've had, obviously plenty of time, with one of the three of you, I've had a decent amount of time at this point with you, Ryan and Dave here. And, love you guys. I think you guys have a lot to offer, but there's still so much I don't know. And so, I'm really excited to kind of move into this, to see how all of our different dynamics come together and, hopefully even have disagreements along the way. I would be very challenged by that. And I would, I think have some fun to, iron sharpen iron and let people see that, just have those moments of seeing people discussing and coming on the other side of it, being even more friends than they were when they started. That's something I'm really excited about as we move forward in our interaction here.
I love that one because, all of you guys have heard me teach something that was taught to me by a friend of mine in Israel, Udi Morot. He's an artist. He has the blue and white art store. Daniel spent much time with him. And he was talking to me one time about a verse in Amos, how can two walk together unless they be agreed? And Udi said, and this guy grew up in the old city of Jerusalem. Okay. So those that would like to argue Hebrew, it's not really good to do that with someone that was his first language. So we were talking about this and he said, that's not really what the verse means. And I was all ears at that point because this man has taught me so much through the years. And he said the verse actually means, how can two walk together unless they have a common destination? Mm-hmm. Now, all four of us are married. You understand that there are times in which you don't agree. Mm-hmm. You don't agree with your wife, but you keep walking. Why? Because you have a common destination. And when we understand that concept, then we walk it out. I've said this, Ryan and David have heard me say this a lot, any two idiots can walk together if they agree on everything. In fact, if we get to the point that we all four agree, then three of us are not needed. Yeah. Think about that.
That's right.
So, that's right. Daniel, you coined something at Revive. Mm-hmm. And this is, I want the guys to also, the other guys to chime in on this one, but how about giving us an explanation? Because I think it's so appropriate for many people that have come through the generation that you guys are a part of is probably one that has been, there's been an underlying current, I guess I would say, an underlying current of fear of what is ahead of us. Yeah, I remember I was back in the dark ages in the 70s. They told us that an ice age was going to come. It's just generation after generation, but you guys have lived through something that's far more than what I did there. So Daniel, go ahead and give us some your concepts here.
Yeah, so it's a very thick concept in my mind that has been developed over a lot of time, obviously, and I'm sure any of you guys could really add a lot to it. But to try to keep it condensed, what I found myself referring to this age group at Revive, which the age group of the young adults that we were with was 19 to 29, something like that. And so, as we were just walking around and I was thinking about what we were going to be talking about, I just kind of started thinking of this group of people in this age group, my age group, and, I'm 27 right now, was the forgotten generation. And what I mean by that is, I was coming into my teens in the mess of the messianic movement, no pun intended really, but, obviously, there was when the messianic kind of thing was birthed, it was coming out of Christian churches with no Torah, and the Torah was discovered, and there was so much excitement and there was so much joy at something that you have found that you never knew about before. And but I wasn't a part of that. I was about this tall, off the ground when you guys came into that. And so I don't remember the intense joy and the jubilation of the discovery of the Torah. And so by the time I was coming into my teenhood of, really starting to understand what people are talking about, these scriptural concepts and all these things, and just hearing what people are actually talking about, I mean, it was the mess of it. It was the thick of the calendars. It was the thick of the name. It was like every week or every month there was something new, like the shape of the tabernacle, and the shape of other things, and so, but it was just so tiring, and I think so many people see now that it was so tiring, and there was just so much bad fruit that has come out of that. And so you have this group of people, my age group, who, we were all teenagers when that was happening. We were all seeing the mess of this stuff as we're trying to figure out our own lives and like how to be a person and how to like love God amongst all of these other things. And, here I am, I've kind of emerged and I've survived, and I was able to, find Yeshua in my own way in the middle of that time. And I think a lot of people did not. I think a lot of my age group did not come out, and they went their way because they just saw too much of the mess. But now you have these people who are at Revive. Clearly they still want something. They still have a desire for the Father because they're there. They didn't have to walk through those doors to come into our meeting, but they did. And so there's something inside of them that says, I'm here for a reason, but maybe they don't really know what that reason is right now, or maybe they've just kind of felt like they've survived and everybody has forgotten about them because we made it past our 18, we're 19 now, and we're forgotten about. There's nothing, no groups for us, no camps for us, that kind of thing. And so I just really developed quite a compassion very quickly for these people who are my age, where I just feel like there's so much pent up inside of them that's waiting to come out, that someone just needs to look at them and recognize, like, hey, good job, for one, you came out of this, you're still you have something inside of you that wants to follow God. And so that's why I'm so excited about this podcast going forth, is because just finding those people and saying, you're someone, there's something for you here still, good job coming out of this, and this is still worth fighting for. So.
Yeah. Survivor of life. Life is not easy these days, guys. Dave, Ryan, you want to chime in there on that one?
I'm about to say you're resonating with a lot of stuff for me as well, because I grew up in this as well. Not in Hebrew roots, but I was Christian. I don't think I ever remember any memory that I wasn't going to church or wasn't going to something that was faith-based. It was always that my entire life. So my parents did a great job raising me up in this, but I think I would want to tell any parents that are listening to this, good job, you succeeded in raising your children up right, but life has a funny way of being even kind of vicious. And so depending on what life path you end up taking, you could get discouraged. And I ended up going down a path of discouragement like Dan was talking about, that whole idea of then now you're struggling internally with your faith, because before you've always been looking to your parents and then the elders who are around you, the ones you looked up to. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I got to be responsible for my life. I got to be responsible for my faith. And I think on purpose, I would offer on purpose, God makes it difficult. We got to struggle a little bit. We got to actually push forward. We got to actually yearn to and desire to push past the enticements of the world to get to him, because you'll realize if you are entangled in all those enticements, which I think some of us could even definitely admit that happened, that you realize that there is no peace in that. And honestly, it's quite ugly, and it's really, really bad. And so, in my own way, like Daniel has as well, and all of you guys have, is that whole idea that then you struggle with your faith and you end up getting closer to God. And the thing is, it never ends. And now I realize, looking at my parents, it never ended with them too. It kept on going, and they just tried to lead me along as best they could and best they knew how. So I have a better respect more for what they did, and realize that it's just a bit different, because I don't remember life outside of faith. It was always respect God first. And now it's like, oh, I see the reason why. I get it now. Because when you're like an older teen, you think, oh, I could do whatever I want. There's no punishment. It soon comes to bite you pretty hard. So I just wanted to echo what you said there, and that's absolutely true. But everyone's going to have to go through their own struggle. Absolutely right about that.
One of the things I wish that, and Daniel has two siblings, a brother and sister, and I always was trying to find the instruction manual for those things. You know, I bought a new office chair at Staples the other day, and I opened the box, and there was an instruction manual of how to put it together. You know, one of the things I could tell young adults is give your parents a break sometimes. You didn't come with instructions. And as Daniel can attest to, everyone comes out different, right, Daniel?
Yep.
Ryan?
Yeah.
That's true.
Sort of, and this goes into my story just a little bit, but you know, I was raised like Dave. Actually, Dave and I grew up in the same church, and it was a church of many, many thousands, kind of a mega church, if you will. So we did not meet each other until many years later, as I, was introduced to the family and so forth. And he grew up like 15 minutes down the road from me. But yeah, I was raised in church. My parents did a good job of sort of guiding me in the right direction and giving me a good moral foundation to build on as I moved on in life. But yeah, when I came to Torah, I think the thing that stuck out to me that I still carry with me in regards to sort of this, like as the mess has continued to go on about the arguments of calendar or the shape of things or the name of our God or this kind of thing, some of these arguments. I remember when I was at my very first Sukkot, and I was brand new. I'd never heard about like the keeping the Torah and the laws, and that this was the heart of God and this was His commandments and this kind of thing, and this was still applicable to our life today.
Oh, that's that 8-day camping trip you were invited to?
Yeah, the 8-day camping trip, exactly. I remember, I think it was probably about halfway through the fourth day, and I had sat up with a bunch of the men there, sometimes till like 2 to 3 in the morning. We just sit around the campfire and just talk scripture, and they would just like pour into me and answer all of my questions as I was moving along and so forth. And more importantly, I knew the Spirit was there. I felt the Holy Spirit. Like I would go and pray every night. I'd be on my face in the assembly room. They always kept like some worship music going. And the Father met me there like every single night, the entire time. And finally, I was like, you know what? I want to be baptized into. I want to, go through the immersion into keeping this as like a new start, washing away the old, starting the new. And the gentleman that ran the congregation, that was the leader there, unfortunately, he's passed away now. But he came to me before they filled the horse trough up first with the garden hose. And then, because this was all kind of on a farm, and he came to me and he pulled me aside, and I could still picture it to this day. There was this trail that ran through the woods that was like dirt, and it was almost like compacted down like concrete from all the people walking back and forth to the different campsites and to assembly and everything. And he knelt down, and I knelt down beside him, and he was just kind of playing with his finger in the dirt. And he said, Ryan, I heard you want to get baptized, and you want to start, keeping the commandments of the Lord, keeping the Torah. He said, let me tell you something. Are you sure you want to do this? Because if a man can talk you into this, a man can talk you out of it.
Oh.
Mm.
So if this is something that you really feel like the Father's calling you to do, then do it for that reason. But don't listen to any of us. Try every spirit and do this for yourself. And I think about that a lot as we go and we face some of the challenges of life. If a man can talk you into it, he can talk you out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not on that foundation of knowing that you know that you know that you know that you're walking with the Father and you're doing it because he's called you to do this and you want to be a vessel for him to work through, that's a rocky foundation to be on, or should I say a sandy foundation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Yes. So, that finding your why, you've talked about that, Mike.
Mm-hmm.
Finding your why, and that crisis of faith. And it always comes. The crisis of faith will always find you.
Mm-hmm.
So
I've taught about that many times. It's not original. In fact, most of what I say is not original. Somebody said years ago that the average human will have 2 original thoughts in their life. So if you don't borrow something from somebody else, you're probably going to be pretty boring. And that's a pretty true statement. But I heard someone talk about and they were talking specifically to youth at the time. There was an adult conference, interesting enough, that we need to put our children, and this is good counsel for anyone that's looking at parenthood or is a parent now. Put your children into a crisis of faith. Let them go with that. I look at the book of in Bereshit, Genesis, and the man Yaakov or James or Jacob. That was a crisis of faith. I mean, he walked up to that mountain and he looked to the heavens and said, if you'll take me from here and give me clothing and food, I'll come back here and worship you. And that was his crisis. And everybody in Scripture I see has a crisis of faith.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
It's definitely one of the rawest places that you can see what God's going to actually do for you. Like in your moment, how is he going to speak to you? Because everyone has a different way. How is he going to speak to you? How is he going to move in your life? All those things. And then to truly feel that love that is, there's no definition to that love that when he surrounds you in that love, when you just need that help, and he just comes in and just swoops you up. I talked about that a little bit in the testimony with those, and it's just overwhelming that you just can't help but sob. And it truly is incredible. And so that's why I believe you're right, that everyone had to go through crisis of faith. Don't shirk away from it. That's a hefty challenge to someone that wants everything and the best for their child. That's kind of like the love that our God had with his only son, right? He let him go through the worst of the worst.
Absolutely.
So, wow, that's a good one.
Yeah, I mean,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, that's really where you find your testimony. It says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the power of our testimony. Where are you going to get a testimony if you've not gone through a crisis of faith?
Oh, wait a minute. That word testimony has the word test in it?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, English did a couple things right there.
I think so, yes.
Just a little bit.
No, and I think that's where we found a lot of these young adults that we were with. Obviously we don't know what their testimony is currently and what it's shaping up to be. But what we found was an eagerness and an excitement, regardless of what was behind the door before they walked in it. We know exactly where they were when they walked in the door. And, so just, I think that's one of our goals here too, is just to kind of, put confidence into their testimonies, and those who their testimonies are still being shaped, try to, in the best way that we can, as far as, what we have to offer, kind of push along the testimony that's being created. And, just, and Dad, something I meant to say earlier, as far as like kind of the whole vision for this thing, with the multi-generational thing is, one reason, that we were so successful, I believe, in that room, that we had wisdom and authority mixed with energy. We had the wisdom of the elders. You were there, and we had some of our people from our congregation, kind of there, just as a background. Most people probably didn't know it, but they were there as an authority, as a leadership structure. And then we had, myself, Dave, Ryan. There were a couple others that kind of got into the mix as well. But just the energy coming through, and I think as we, my age group, this generation, move into things, it's kind of uncharted territory in some ways. We've seen the abuses, and we've seen the things that we don't really want to be a part of, and we're trying to extract the good from that, the good of the Torah, and all the stuff that's applicable. And now we're moving into things that maybe we don't know too much about, but it's going to be the wisdom of those above us that, as we submit ourselves to leadership, that's going to keep us from getting into trouble. And also one thing that, we talked about in that room as well with the forgotten generation part is, thankfully, I was able to find grace for those who came before me. I'm looking because, we've all heard, people say, our fathers inherited lies, and, all this stuff. And that kind of, led to a lot of the, the Torah that they went into. It came with bitterness. But, you guys had to realize, I've heard you talk about this, that, those people, they didn't lie to you. They were walking in the revelation that they had, that they were given, and, just letting them off the hook. And, we need to do the same. I need to do the same thing, just acknowledge that those who came before me, paving the way for Torah and for Hebrew roots kind of stuff, just realizing all that stuff. There's going to be hangups along the way and mistakes made. And you know what? It's fine. We move past our mistakes. We learn from them, and we find people who have come out on the other side, and, we move forward with them.
Yeah. Pioneers make mistakes. They take wrong paths, have to come back. And you guys know that I'm pretty famous for my one-liners, and I put a lot of that on Facebook. But don't speak against the person that paved the road you're walking on. It took people to come along and cut down trees and bulldoze and level it out, and now you're driving down the thing at 70 miles an hour, and you're complaining because, well, why didn't they make this a little straighter right here? Really? You don't know what they went through to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that's right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, we are just for we'll have people coming in from different places along the way, and please excuse the little bit of internet problems we've got from my phone. I live in a rural area. It's pretty amazing this is holding up. I would say close to miraculous, but yep. I really would. So we come from a place, and next week, even though Ryan's not going to be with us because you just had your grandmother just passed away, so you're going to be helping your dad out and taking care of some affairs there. Next week's program, we're going to spend some time just letting people get to know us. It'll be three of us, and then Ryan, when you come back, we'll give you some time there on the other end. But we come from a scriptural background. That is my life. Okay. A guy today said, and here's a vernacular he says, do you have Jesus in your heart? And he said it just like that. And I looked at him, and I paused for a little bit, and I plan on going back to him the next time I see him and saying, the reason that I paused is because Messiah is not just in my heart, he's in my life. Mm-hmm. And that's who I am. And that's who you guys are. And we come from the foundation of Scripture, which is the Torah, the first 5 books. And that foundation sets, and Daniel is a contractor. Ryan and David, you guys work on some pretty amazing houses, by the way. You guys are really talented.
Thank you.
In some of the stuff that I've seen you guys do, the architectural designs. But, we all understand the concept that if the foundation isn't right, the shingles aren't going to go on real well, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's true
Absolutely.
in Scripture.
Mm-hmm.
So we come at it from the basis that everything goes back to the first 5 books, which are broken up into weekly Torah portions. And this week we will be actually looking at Deuteronomy, Devarim, chapter 11, verse 26 through chapter 16, verse 17. And I'll be teaching on that on my website and at Life Assembly, and I'm sure you guys will be teaching that in Blue Ridge. But there's a verse here. We're going to do one of the segments of our program is going to be to take one verse or a couple verses. This is Moses talking to the people, and he says, when they enter into the land. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
he says, "You will not do things the way we do them here today, where everyone does whatever in his own opinion seems right."
Wow.
Does history repeat itself?
Does.
Oh,
No,
absolutely.
not at all.
Oh yeah.
You guys think that this is happening?
Yeah.
How do we go ahead and
Mm-hmm.
history? If you look at history and don't learn from it, you're going to repeat it, which is
Mm-hmm.
really kind of dumb in my opinion. So how do we get out of this cycle?
Well, first of all, like you said, you got to know your history. Go back and look at what the pitfalls were. And unfortunately, here we go again in this cycle, just like Babylon, Pompeii, even if you will, Rome, so many. I was looking at that verse actually to kind of take it on a trail here too. I was looking at that verse, what is right in their own eyes. It denotes a level of convenience as well.
Ooh.
Ooh, nice one.
Boy. Oh, man.
We're not called to do what is convenient to us. We're called to do what is right for us to do, what the Father, commands us to do, not what's convenient. And oftentimes, the very things that He will call you to do in your walk are very inconvenient.
Mm-hmm.
How many people, will say like, they might be a public speaker. You know what I mean? Most of the ones I've talked to didn't want to be a public speaker. I know your story there, Mike. Musicians, that were afraid to play on stage, that were very nervous. You know what I mean? They did not want to play in front of people, but are now playing in front of people. But it's what the Father's called you to do. And it really, if I told one young man this at Revive, if you'll just step into it, the Father will equip you.
Yeah.
So
Amen.
little nugget there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was good. It's funny. I took a totally different approach, which, is not a surprise at all. But, reading that verse, contextually, like Dad said, it's talking, about going into the land, and, it's saying I'm going to find a place to establish my name, and you guys are going to go there and, do all these things. And, that verse, like, it's not going to be done as it is today. As I read that, I just think of longing. And I just think, of Abraham, like, he always had his eyes on the horizon, looking for a city whose maker and founder was God. And so that's what I think of. And, the song that I sang that last day at Revive, The Far Kingdom, it's actually been on my mind a lot recently. It's by the Grey Havens. Really, really good song. Just exactly about what you think it's about with the name Far Kingdom. There's a far kingdom a ways from here, beyond the storm and the seas. And just keeping that in mind, that there's something beyond what we have right now, and there's going to be a day where we don't do things as we do them right now. We're not going to toil and have these labors that amount to nothing and labor in vain and all these things. We're going to put our hands to things, and it's going to work. And there's going to be no I don't know, no opposition in that way. Yeshua is going to be on his throne with him. And, so just looking forward to that day when things are not done as today. And that might be out of context perhaps, but, that's just where my mind went was, there's a day where it's just going to make sense. Things are just going to make sense because we're going to be under Yeshua, who is the living Torah, telling us exactly how it should be done. Not only how to do it, but what the heart of it was and what its intended purpose was, and that it's not just empty words or empty actions that we're doing, but that there's something so much deeper than we can ever figure out on this side.
I like that.
I like that too. I agree with that. Actually, I'm kind of going to just take off like what you were talking about because my brain's a little bit foggy. I had to cough a little bit. I'm still struggling with some little cold or whatnot. So hopefully it's coming a little bit clear through in what I think is going on. But I wanted to jump off what you're saying, Daniel, is that this absolutely implies a future connotation. And I cannot remember the verse. It is a part of one of my favorite verses. And I'm almost positive in Deuteronomy. And I think we're going to read it soon, where it says, the oath that I'm about to make with you here today is not just with those here standing today, but those who are not here today. And I think that verse, and especially since we see in Judges how it says it in the very last bit, everyone did what was right in their own eyes. There's nothing new. Like Mike said, there's absolutely nothing new. This has been on repeat for a while. So I think that actually should be in a way of encouragement, because I know I've talked with quite a few individuals who also said that song was resonating with them even after Revive. I would talk to them, they're like, man, that song was amazing. And they look for that. And I do believe that there's a lot of young adults that are in our age group that are yearning for that, because all we see, or maybe not all, that maybe is a little bit too harsh, but we have seen a lot of the bitterness that can invade a congregation. They could see the politics, not just the politics of the country, but the inner politics of a congregation. And those can be pretty disturbing, if not just downright discouraging, because you're supposed to be in faith. You're supposed to be in all this. And to see that, and I remember I went through quite a few of those, and being just kind of like the monkey in the middle. There's nothing I could say or do to try to make things better. My friends are being ripped away from me, and I have no way of stopping it because things are said. And I look at this verse and says that I look to the future and going, it's because that's the goal. We're to look towards, we're going to eventually be at a place where we're not just looking for what's right in our eyes. We are going to be at a place where God is going to be our king. He's going to rule and he's going to reign within our hearts. And even when it's uncomfortable, and even when you don't want to do something, you're going to do it anyway, because you know that God's telling you to do it. And that's why I want to echo right off of that. I'm seeing this, and there's a lot that you can look in there. And I look at that and go, okay, they had it back then too. And I think that a little bit, I would like to just do a little tangent, is I think that if you look at their situation, they were looking to a human leader. And there's nothing wrong with that, but also we need to not just look on a human leader. I'm guilty of this, where I got so stuck on a teacher that whatever that teacher said was just everything I wanted. And it was like, that's it. Everything that you say is everything that I'm going to adopt. And you know what happened? God decided to finally draw a wedge between me listening to that teacher, and all of a sudden I started not to go away from that. And it's not because that teacher's speaking wrong. It was because of my actions. I was yearning so much from that teacher. I wanted everything they said. I wouldn't actually question anything they said. I just took it as face value, which a lot of people do with a pastor. And God's like, no, I need you to come after me. And that's where I look at this. And even though this was a more righteous generation, this is the generation that's about to go into the land and conquer it. They still look to Moses as the leader. And it's very hard to say, no, God, you're the leader, and to still give him the respect he deserves, as Moses is the one who is chosen to be the leader, but he's only to be that representation. And I think we need to realize that our leaders, they're to be respected. They're the representation for us to be sort of a guide, but we still gotta, as young people who's grown up behind the coattails of our parents, we have to realize you have to branch out and start grabbing for your own. And you might struggle. You might end up going down the rabbit hole. I went down some rabbit holes of things, and we talked about calendars. I was like, yeah, okay. But God, if you continue to look to God, God will always bring you to a place of truth. He always will. And if you can just continue to seek him and praise him, and like that's what Mike talked about with all the kids, if you could just keep your nose in that word, not for the sake of impressing your parents, not for the sake of impressing your leaders, just for you, this is the meaning of your life. And it says that in Deuteronomy, this is the meaning of your life, to do these things. It's just, if you continue to focus on all the worries that you have, all that stuff that you get that are overwhelming to you now will make sense, because God's going to be the one that's going to guide you through that in life. And now to bring that back, that's where I think that's what that is also kind of implying, that the maybe a slightly deeper level. But nothing's new under the sun, like you said, Mike. It truly is, nothing's new under the sun.
Dave, you talk about teachers, and there's a whole thing in this has happened in religious circles all over, not just Messianic, that there's kind of the teachers are bad now, okay, because they're bad teachers, bad pastors, all this kind of stuff. I still look for teachers. I look for people to mentor me, but when I'm looking for for someone that I can learn from, the main thing that I look for is a person that challenges me to think, not just to repeat what they say, but to think on my own, to use their foundation to think.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
I really agree.
I got this song rolling around. We in the back of you guys are talking about what you've seen and how people turn out to not be the same as you thought they were, and everything. And when I give a little bit of my background next week, I'm going to talk about this more. But I grew up. My foundational years was in the 70s. There was a band, secular band at the time. Still, you still hear the music. It's called Styx, and I went to one of the concerts, the Styx concerts. That was another story, but there's a song that I listen to still, and it starts out. It's called "Show Me the Way," and it starts out by saying, "Every night I say a prayer in the hope that there's a heaven," and it goes through, and one of the lines is that I see the saints turn into sinners, and at the end, the last words of the song is, "Show me the way. Every night I say a prayer in hope that there is a heaven." Now, I would say that there's a kingdom, but this is the thing. People are going to fail you, but God doesn't. God doesn't. He doesn't fail. He is faithful through it all. And sometimes we got to get our eyes off of people, because I fail. I've got as many failures as anybody. But he is still faithful through it all, and he works through imperfect people. That's one of the mysteries of the ages I still have a struggle with.
Right. That's right.
Yeah, and it's funny you're saying that, because you mentioned they were a secular band, and you find a lot of these kind of hidden things with unexpected places, like things that you're recognizing that there's a yearning for something that they probably have absolutely no idea. And I watched the C.S. Lewis movie last night, The Most Reluctant Convert, just kind of a story of kind of a dramatized story of his, because he was very theological, very philosophical, and his journey from atheist to Christian for him was very reluctant. It was basically God bringing him very slowly to the point of acknowledging, okay, there's a God, and then he was God's son, and he loves you. But one of his most famous quotes, I think, hopefully I do it justice, is, "If I find inside of myself a yearning that I can't find anything on this earth to satisfy, then I have to conclude that I was made for somewhere else." And I think when you hear, words or these phrases from secular places, they're acknowledging a longing inside of themselves that they don't know what it's for, but we do. We know what that longing is supposed to be directed toward.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
the verse we use for this program is out of Jeremiah chapter 11. I know the plans I have for you, not for evil, but for good, to give you a hope and a future. And I believe that he created this world on purpose, and we're to live life on purpose. And that's what our program is going to be all about. And guys, hey, we made it through the Maiden Voyage. No icebergs. We didn't have Gilligan didn't show up at any point in time, so we're in good shape there. David, I was actually serious, okay, when I said that I'm giving you the same thing for your birthday that I did last year.
Right.
You don't remember what that was, do you?
I'm trying to remember. I thought that was what was it?
Well, I'll tell you then. My gift to you, sir, is this. I will not sing happy birthday to you.
You did say that. I forgot about that. You're absolutely right.
That's
And when
good.
you hear next week about testimony, you'll understand why he's saying that.
I got
too.
that. I got that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Hey,
definitely
guys,
tune in next week.
you can go to onpurpose@email.com, and you can send us an email, give us your comments, your suggestions, your questions. We'll try to get it as we can. We're going to be working out some, just some kind of working together here, our timing and everything. So please bear with us as we go through that. Couple more things. If you would like more teaching that I do, you can go to Joined to Hashem. That's HASHEM, joinedtohashem.org. That is joined to the name. So it's the name and authority of the Almighty. If you want some amazing music and you, in fact, like that trailer, I can tell you it's easy to sound good when you have Mr. Ryan Cribbs doing backup vocals as you're talking, as you heard in the trailer. That's Ryan, and David is the most bass players are boring. Not David.
That's right.
Yeah, because he makes the Energizer Bunny look like a
Yeah.
slacker. So ExodusRoadBand what, guys?
.com.
.com.
Yes,
And they can
sir.
download your music on where?
Everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere music is sold. Just ask Siri or Alexa, and they'll find us.
Okay. All right. So Spotify, Apple Music, Dog Sled, Carrier Pigeon, whatever you're using,
All of it.
get a
All
hold
of
of their
it, yes.
music. It's amazing. You guys did a great job on that God of the Universe.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you
That's
very
a good
much.
one.
It came out great.
Yeah.
Sure did.
It
So,
did come out good.
We got about 2 minutes. Closing thoughts?
I'm excited to see where this is going to go. I think that I think the biggest reason why we're doing this is to encourage each and everyone who's listening, whether you find yourself in the age range that we just were talking about at Revive, or whether you are someone outside of that range, or younger, or been younger for longer, whatever it may be. So,
Don't get personal.
excuse me. That I pray that you are encouraged through all these things, and even through our mistakes, that you might be able to see where God can still use, even though you might have made a mistake, that he truly loves you so much that he'll let you make the mistakes so he can pick you back up. I think that's what I want to leave you with this final thought.
Yeah. No, here we go. We don't always understand why we do the things we do. Dad, I know you came away from Revive like, hey, look, one more thing to do in front of a computer. But we're excited for it. We know that this is kind of what God has for us, and I know that we're going to grow along the way. So here we go. Let's do it.
There you go, Ryan.
Let's go.
Yeah, to quote Dave as well, I'm excited to see where this goes. Absolutely. There was a Shakespeare quote that I was going to read that talks about basically the ships at sea, the starting of a new adventure. That's kind of what this feels like it is. And I'm excited to see what the Father throws at us and the way he works and moves through this. So to those listening, tell your friends, join us again. Definitely send us some email with some topics or questions. If the Father lays anything on your heart, don't be afraid to do that. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I want some really hard questions.
Yep.
This program is, this is not because the four of us didn't have anything to do. Believe me, I got enough to do in life. And Daniel's got 3 children, 1 on the way. these other, we all got families, we all got jobs, we all got stuff to do. So this is about you guys and reaching out to you and being here to whatever we can do. So please reach back and share this with your friends. And until next week, shalom, which means peace, which is actually means much more than that, but shalom, to be strong.
God of the universe, maker